Number one, because it's a real challenge. It's a real challenge having a disability. And you just have to make it through life. And what I mean when I say you got to make it through life, you have to make it through your childhood. And if a lot of us really are honest about our childhood, it was rough. It was rough because we have to look at how society look at things. And I always have a saying to where I say, images are advertisements for your mind. And in that, it's like what the world deems acceptable, what the world deems normal. Think about that to where you're in a world where something is deemed normal just from being regular. And what I mean from being regular, just being a person. We're not talking about a sexual lifestyle. We're not talking about anything of it. Just being a person, right? And when just having a disability makes you, whether children want to play with you, whether male or females want to like you, whether anything, right? This takes toll on you. And as you grow, I don't care what we say. I don't care how cool we pretend to be. These things impact your confidence, right? It absolutely impacts your confidence to where, and here's the thing when people say, hey, you just got to be yourself. You just got to have confidence. You just got to love yourself. I mean, you actually want to, but imagine walking up to a girl that you like and she laughs at you, or she tells you that you're just not the most kind thing she can do is just turn you down. But think about some of the extreme things we have dealt with being rejected. That took a toll on your confidence. Being rejected in a hard manner took a toll on your confidence. So you even have to get to a point of healthy confidence, right? And just think about it. Some quote unquote normal people suffer from like insecurities. Everybody, you're not gonna escape it. You're not gonna escape insecurities just because you're normal or not, right? And on top of that, it's like, because think of the things like this is why I always say having a disability, it makes you creative, right? You have to be more charismatic, like being able bodied. And I remember a friend called me last week. He said, hey bro, let me ask you a question. I said, what's up? He says, do you think tall dudes have complexes? I said, interesting. I said, absolutely, yeah. Because when we think of a lot of people, sometimes a person that doesn't fully have confidence, they let surface things speak for them. Their height, their money, their status. So it's not that they're fully confident; they just have confident boosters, right? If that makes sense, what I'm saying. They have confidence boosters, and in that confidence booster, you don't really have to have a personality. You could just be the tall guy and walk into the room. But when you're the disabled person, it is such a daunting task, right? Isn't that what I'm saying? Because the world has already deemed what's acceptable and what's not, what's cool and what's not. This is why movies are so important because movies send messages to you. Like I always use anybody that's reoccurring on my live. Um, Appreciate it. Anybody that's reoccurring on my live, I always say images are advertisements for your mind. So just think about how the cool guy looked on TV. Just think about how the popular guy looked on TV. Just think about the ladies man, how the ladies man look at these TV shows. One show I could not watch and I still don't watch is Balloon Popping. Because balloon popping, and I always would joke with my friends, but I'm serious. I say, yo, I would never go on that damn show. Yo, peace, how y'all doing? I would never go on that show because that show isn't conducive, or that show wouldn't be healthy for my confidence, right? Because it's only surface. Number one, a lot of people are on there just for clicks and views, but they're only there. Nobody's there for real love. I would probably say a very small percentage. If I could put it on a percentage scale, maybe 1% is actually there for looking for something real. But most people are there just to get themselves out there, right? They're just out there to get themselves out there. So with all of this, you're trying to shape your confidence. You're trying to shape yourself, and you're trying to. And people say, just be confident. Just be yourself. Just be this. Just be that. I would like to, but you have to get to a point where you even accept yourself. That's the ultimate confidence booster. Not having a false sense of confidence, but to when you actually, like I just made a short, and check my short out to where I said, don't allow yourself to be a trauma dumpster. And this is not even just for disabled people. This is just for people. But this is, but don't allow yourself to be a trauma dumpster, right? And some people, this is where we have to learn, like in building your confidence, you have to learn to set healthy barriers. And this is when you really find out who is in your corner and who's your friend and who's not, who's just there for what they can get. And sometimes it's not even always monetary or things. It could be just your personality, right? Because say if you're the friend, and I remember, like, this is where I love therapy, and I talk about my therapy sessions. I had to get to a healthy point to where I could even say the word friend, because that's how bad that word had been weaponized on me and used against me. Like, I'm gonna tell you, like, earlier in my years, maybe 10 years ago, a woman couldn't say, hey friend, because I felt like she was playing on my top, and that would be a trigger, because a lot of women wanted to manipulate me under this and say, hey, be my friend, I don't like you. You're good enough for everything. You're good enough to be the listening ear. You're good enough to be the guy I come to with my problems. You're good enough for this. You're good enough for everything but to be my man. I'm going to have you as my friend. And things like that mess with your confidence, if we're going to be honest about it. And I also have another short to where I say, don't, you're not an at least person. And I could remember being a, well, at least she's my friend. Well, at least they're my friend. Well, at least, she does call me. All of that was a low self-esteem frequency that I couldn't even understand. And she would say, hey, friend. And she never really wanted nothing. What she wanted to do, back to the don't be a trauma dumpster, she wanted to dump on me. She wanted to dump on me about the guys that she would never, ever, 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 ever stop messing with until they just totally disrespected her in ways she couldn't deal with. Right? Then she would move on to another situation. Because until we get healthy, it's like Groundhog Day, that movie with Bill Murray. It's like Groundhog Day, to where you continue to do the same thing over and over and over. It's cyclical, right? It's a cycle. And a lot of people continue to date the same person, just in different forms. Because there's a certain frequency that you radiate at, or there's a certain frequency that you're connected to, and you call it attraction, right? So a lot of us still continue to date the same type of people. The same. To me, you have to learn, you have to even learn to get up off of that. Like, so what my cycles began to look like, I would date different women, but they were all traumatized. They always had that kind of like selfish mentality, because those were the things that I was allowing, because I still allowed myself to be the at least. Well, at least she gave me her phone number, because I was operating at a level of ego. All of these things you have to become aware of and suspend before you can actually radiate at your highest confident level. Because confidence and arrogance is a fine line, I would like to say. right? And some people push their arrogance and their obnoxiousness off as, oh, I'm just confident. Oh, I'm just confident. No, confident is just being cool in who you are. One of the most powerful words has two letters. N-O. No. And the moment you tell a person no, you begin to see what you're dealing with. Right? So like I said, I can remember these things. I can remember dating the worst types, but I was attracted because I felt like something that wasn't fulfilled in me. So I had a void. I had to try to prove something because I'm disabled. So I wanted a woman to look a certain way because I wanted to prove something to the world. I wanted to prove something to other people. I wanted to prove that I could get a normal woman, whatever that is. Right? None of this is confidence. All of these are broken pieces of you that you're trying to pass off as healthy or confident. Right? You're not operating at that level until you're totally happy with self. And to me, happy with self is beyond money, is beyond physical appearance, beyond just material things. Being happy with self is just that. I'm happy with myself. I'm happy with myself whether I drive uh, an expensive luxury car or whether I just have a Toyota. I'm happy with myself whether I'm eating the finest meals or whether I'm eating, because you find your level of happiness within that, right? Because a lot of times, what you can ask a person, take away the things from a person, take away from sex, and take away material things. What do you have, right? This is why love has become such a joke in a sense. Not love or the idea of love itself, but how people begin to process it. Right? Well, and another back to my friend. He asked me a question the other day because we were having a heavy conversation. And he said, bro, let me ask you a question. He says, what is understanding? And I said, well, since you're asking me, in my opinion, because I always say understanding is the highest level of knowledge, right? Or one of the highest levels. Because if you don't have understanding, you lack compassion, you lack insight, you lack substance, right? So understanding brings you all of these things. But to answer the question, I said, bro, understanding is just really insight, you know. It's really only, how you perceive things. Your level of comprehension, right? Because it's levels to it. You know how they always say it's levels to this stuff. It's levels to this stuff. It's levels to understanding, right? It's your level of insight. That's as far. And I gave examples of people we knew, and I said, "Yo, remember this situation?" Like that was as far as those people could really. That was their level of insight. They couldn't understand any deeper, right? Right. So within this, confidence sits in the middle of all of this. And if you are a person with a disability, you have to fight. You have to fight for your confidence. Because even this is why social media is like an evil genius. It's beautiful on sometimes, but it's really a cesspool on other times. Because I remember just watching, and these are the adults, these aren't children. And there was this page that I saw, I think it was like on um TikTok, I mean not TikTok, YouTube, not what is it? Facebook. Um, and it was like wheelchair baddies. And these were some fine women in those wheelchairs. The only thing that they were in Wheelchairs. And the amount of adults that were laughing. The amount of adults that were laughing because of this. And they was like, oh Lord, I'm going to hell. I don't know why I find this funny. Yes, why do you find that funny? Why do you find a page that's called Wheelchair Baddies so funny? Because they don't think you're supposed to have confidence. They don't think you're supposed to find yourself handsome. They don't think you're supposed to find yourself attractive. They don't think you're supposed to find yourself uh sexy or have sex appeal. They think that you are supposed to just be disabled. They don't think because how society shapes them to look at certain things, right? So confidence aren't isn't things that you wear. I grew up a fan of Prince, and on his Emancipation album, he had a song called "Style," and that was one of the dopest songs to me. And Prince would name off all these things that style and things that wasn't style. And one he was like, "Style is not sitting courtside with the owner of the team. Style is owning the court and charging them all a fee. Style is not lusting after someone because they're cool. Style is loving yourself till everyone else does too." And I'm like, yo. And they say, we got it, style. Real jamming track. But he told you, he gave you templates of what style and confidence was. Right? Style is confidence is an essence. It's not your clothes. I got a close homie of one of my best friends, and he could be in his work truck and he could be in something, and ladies will still like him because he just radiates a level of, and he's so down to earth. He just radiates a level of confidence. But a lot of times, a lot of people they feel like they need these things. They feel like they need designer clothes. Like, now have at these things. They need designer clothes. They need designer shoes. They need jewelry. They need this type of car. Have at it. If you want to have things, have things. But those things don't make you. You make those things. Right? But I just wanted to come through and drop a couple of gems. If you like the post, I'm also a consultant for people with disabilities. Like if you have a young child or if you yourself just need somebody to talk to, I'm here for you. My link is in my bio. Get at me. Peace.